afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Sports Box, where the only opinion that matters, well, you know. I am Mike Aletta, a.k.a. Hammonton Mike, bringing you another great NHL special. We're going to part two kind of our NHL special of the Western Conference Playoffs. Brian, our NHL analyst for the Sports Box, newly elected NHL analyst for the Sports Box.
Good to be
here. That's right, good to be here. Damn glad to be here. We're going to talk about the Western Conference right now, so we got the matchups in front here, so let's roll right through it. Today we're going to talk about Minnesota and the Minnesota Wild and the Dallas Stars. Now this is interesting, this series, because they've played in the past. Dallas is 4-6 in this series all year. In 10 games, Dallas is 8-2, red hot. Minnesota's 5-5. You know, Tyler Seguin for the Stars hurt with the Achilles. Supposedly he's going to practice this week. You know, Dallas's power play. What can you say about their power play? You know, number 3 in the league. Their kills number 10. You talk about guys like Patrick Sharp, Jamie Benn, Jason Spezza. I mean, you got a lot of firepower on this team. This isn't the old Dallas Stars of old where, you know, oh, Dallas, oh, they are a solid team. And it's funny that these two teams are playing each other because if you're an old school guy like I am, yep. Dallas started in Dallas because of the Minnesota North Stars. They moved down to Dallas. They gave Minnesota a team back, which I never thought Minnesota should lose a team anyway, but they got a team back. Personally, Brian, looking at the sheets, and we're going to go over a couple things about the two teams, but I don't know how Minnesota can win this series.
This is another bad matchup. Minnesota, they barely got in. They actually had the least amount of points of any team that got into the postseason. They had Mike Yeo was fired earlier in the year.
Yep.
You know, they're a team that made noise signing, you know, Zach Parise and Ryan Suter to really long, big money deals. Yep. Haven't really seen a lot of fruit from them. Devin Dubnyk in goal really kind of came out of nowhere. That really wasn't in the plans. He had been a journeyman, and for whatever reason, has worked out well in Minnesota. Despite having Parise, they don't really score that many goals. I think they've worked on defense, but obviously with a guy like Suter, but the offense is a struggle for them. This is a bad match. I mean, Dallas is so loaded offensively. Dallas is very much a run and gun team. They're not going to beat you defensively. Their best defenseman is a kid named John Klingberg, who's more offensive than anything else. Their goaltending is a little questionable in that they have two guys that they kind of go back and forth with.
I think they go with Kerry Layton now.
Layton probably gets.
Yeah, I think he's the more veteran guy. He's been there a while. He's played in the league. I mean, like you said, you got Suter there. He's got 43 assists. That's nothing to sneeze at. But you know, you signed this guy to score goals, not to give it off. You got Zach Parise, 25-goal season. It's not too bad. But you think about Simmons for Flyers is at 31, and Simmons isn't even getting close to the money Parise is. You know, Scandella on defense. They're not too bad back there. Mikko Koivu's had a good year, 17 goals, 39 assists. But like I said, I don't see Minnesota. They're number 15 on the power play and 27 on a kill, and they've lost their last 5, limping in the playoffs. I mean, they were far and away a good team in the middle of the year, but then slacked off and just kind of backed into the playoffs again. They were so far into the standings that losing 5 games wasn't going to hurt them. I personally have Dallas in 5. You're probably not going to see me have any sweeps in this series because I don't think anybody really onus is a sweep because you get in the playoffs, you don't usually get swept. But I think Dallas is going to dominate Minnesota. I think they get beat 5.
This is the one series I think if you're going to see a sweep, you could see it here.
Yeah, you could.
You know, I think Dallas knows that their next matchup is going to be tough. They probably want to get this series done and get some rest. Yep. I also like Dallas in 5. Could easily be 4. I just think that firepower that Dallas has is just. It's going to be a little too much for a team like Minnesota to handle.
It's probably not a good series if you're going to watch hockey. It's definitely going to be a rout, I think.
And if not for Colorado really falling bad at the end of the year, I don't think Minnesota even gets in.
Yeah, that's we could do a whole show on Colorado falling out of the playoffs. A bunch of stiffs there.
Oh boy.
The next series we're going to talk about is the Blues against Chicago. Now, this series I think is going to be a good series, even though the Blues lost T.J. Oshie last year. The Blues are still not a team, you know, that are in the woods, and they lost Oshie and they're out and they're done now. They've 4 out of the 6 meetings. Chicago's won in the last 10. St. Louis has been 8-2 in their last 10, and Chicago a little bumpy, 5-2-3. I think the goaltending, switching goaltenders back and forth, has been a little shaky. But you know, you talk about St. Louis a little bit. The last 3 years they've been in the playoffs, they've lost them twice to Chicago. A lot of revenge on their mind here. Obviously, when you talk about St. Louis, you talk about Tarasenko. I mean, 40 goals. What can you say? The guy's tearing it up every year. Hatterkirk, 30 assists. The defense has gotten younger and gotten a little bit better. David Backes, 21 goals. You know, you got guys on this team that I wouldn't say are as loaded as Dallas, But they're no slouches. They're going to be a good team in this series.
They're a team nobody really talks about because they're out in the Midwest and they don't really get a lot of play. But
and they got Chicago out there, so nobody talks about them.
That is an extremely deep hockey team. Again, led by Tarasenko, Jaden Schwartz, he came back from injury. Not a lot of weaknesses. In fact, I think the goalie has been their Achilles heel the past couple of years, especially in the Chicago series. Brian Elliott's just played really, really well this year, and I think that he's benefited from them going to him more often than doing that little bit of a switch from that standpoint.
And Jake Allen's been there to back him up very well too. So
young kid there. This might be a year that the Blues finally make some noise. I think they're a popular pick in the hockey community to do very well every year. They just never seem to get out of the first round. They've been around. They were part of the expansion when the Flyers came in the league. Have never been in the Stanley Cup Finals in that time. It's a team that has lost enough. I think that they're a little sick of losing.
They got to shake the Chicago Demons. What they got to do. They just can't get over the hump, like you said. It's a shame. They got with Chicago, Duncan Keith. He's been out with an injury for a while, but he's talking about skating this week. I don't know how 100% he's going to be. You talk about the Blackhawks. You talk about Patrick Kane. You talk about Jonathan Toews. You talk about Marian Hossa. You talk about all these guys that have done things over the years. And in goal, you've had Crawford, the stand-up veteran, who's the guy they usually go to, but you also have Darling, who's not as bad too. I think they go with Crawford. Bottom line, I think St. Louis wins this series of 7. It's still going to be a dogfight, but I finally think St. Louis kicks the Blues.
The funny thing about those names that you mentioned is they're all great players. Didn't even mention probably the Calder Trophy winning Artemi Panarin. Came over from the KHL, had a monster year out of nowhere. Chicago's just, it's very, very, very hard to pick against Chicago. They've been so good for so long. I'm going with my gut here. I think the Blues also take this. I think it does take 7 games in probably the best series of the first round. I'm calling the chance to go down.
Yep, I think they go down too as well. Next series we're going to go to Anaheim against Nashville. And this series is a little, I don't want to say a little funky, but another little lopsided series, I think. Nashville 2 of 3, taken again from the series. The last 10, the Ducks have been 6-2-2. Nashville's been 5-4-1, but I don't think that matters in this series at all. Anaheim got off to a horrible start this year in the beginning of the season. I mean, people thought they were dead and gone. At Christmas time they started to pick up the pace. They have Corey Perry, Ryan Getzlaf, solid players, solid veterans in this league. I think Anaheim can really make some noise in this series.
I think they're such an underrated team, and you're right. They were left for dead earlier in the year. People were just, they couldn't believe how bad Anaheim was. There was a point, I think, even in November, that Getzlaf had 1 goal all season long. That is the best team you don't pay attention to. They're very, very good, very deep, very heavy team. That's a team that's built for postseason hockey because when the rink gets a little smaller, these guys have the size and the ability to just really get through people. The guy you never hear about who's had a breakout year is Jakob Silfverberg, who was an acquisition from Ottawa a couple years back. It's a tough series for Nashville.
Definitely a tough series.
Nashville, Philip Forsberg was a steal of a guy that they got from Washington. Imagine if they had he was on Washington. They made a trade to pick up Ryan Johansson, personal favorite of mine.
And traded Seth Jones, which was unbelievable. I couldn't believe they did that.
Absolutely. They knew that they needed more offensive firepower. Their defense is pretty good for the foreseeable future. I think they have the advantage in goal in this series with Pekka Rinne. I think he's another guy you never really hear about, but I just think Anaheim's too deep.
See, you want to flip it a little bit. I think Anaheim's got a little bit better goaltending because both guys have done it all year long.
That's true.
Gibson and Anderson flip-flopping. I would say they're going to go with Anderson, but you never know with this team. They can go back and forth in this whole series and be fine. Pekka Rinne is a solid goaltender, but again, he's a guy that's not proven in the playoffs and not come up big when they need him. And you look at this Nashville roster, like you said, Forsberg, 31 goals. Shea Weber, monster defenseman. He's got 31 assists, 20 goals. James Neal, 31 goals. Yossi with 47 assists. On the scoring end, they don't look like that they're a bad team and they're going to stay in it. But if you watch Nashville play, they just play such an erratic style that I don't know if they're going to be able to keep up with Anaheim. But bottom line in my book is I think Anaheim takes this series in 5. Again, no sweeps in my book, but I think the Ducks handle this series and take them out in 5.
I like the Ducks as well. Probably on the cusp of a pretty long run here for Anaheim. I'll take them in 6 just to give, again, I'm a Rinne guy. I think he's able to maybe steal a couple games here. But
throwing a little bone to Rinne?
Yeah.
Very nice.
I do think Anaheim's a far better team. I'll take the Ducks in 6.
Okay, and then last series we're going to go to the LA Kings against San Jose Sharks. Now, San Jose Sharks, it's funny because people wrote them off a long time ago. They've quietly had a decent year. They haven't been, President's Cup or anything to that effect, but they've been, a decent team. The problem I see with San Jose is their aging team. They're a very They're a team that doesn't make a lot of moves in the offseason, doesn't make a lot of trades, and I think it's finally starting to catch up with them. San Jose did win 3 out of 5 from the series, and in the last 10, the Kings have been 4-5-1. They've been struggling a little bit. Quick hasn't played well. San Jose's been 5-5. You know, and the funny thing is with the Sharks, they blew a 3-0 lead. That's a nightmare to them back in the playoffs. So, you know, again, aging team: Joe Thornton, Patrick Marleau. You got Joe Pavelski, Brett Burns, Logan Couture. You got a lot of guys on this team that are veterans, but you got to get some young talent in there.
Yeah, they've tried to patch this team for a while to get the most out of the Marlows, the Thorntons, and that team. Yep. Unfortunately, I know the Kings all too well, having beaten my Rangers in 2014. The Sharks, the sexy pick to win the series, I don't see that at all.
No.
LA is a team with pedigree, with experience. Yeah. They're probably missing maybe a top 4 defenseman since Slavovoinov's going through his problems.
You know what? It doesn't even matter.
No, doesn't matter.
Doesn't even matter. When you got a guy like, you know, Kopitar, you got Jeff Carter, you got Drew Dowry, I mean, you got Tyler, Toffoli, thank you, who is having a phenomenal year. I mean, again, the Kings are a team with firepower. Do they need defense? Absolutely, you need defense. But they also got a guy in net back there, Jonathan Quick, who's been there before. He's got a couple of rings. Solid goaltender. There's a guy who's going to carry yourself on your back. With the Sharks, I mean, their goaltender has been erratic all over the place. I mean, personally, I don't even know who they're going to put in net for this series. I mean, they have 2 goalies. The one guy they have has only played in about 15 to 20 games this year, and their other goalie is Mark Jones. Thank you. I mean, goaltending wins series. Goaltending wins games. I definitely think the Kings have it all in this series. They have the scoring, they have goaltending, they have defense. I think the Kings take them out in 5.
I think the Kings win the series. I'm going to give a little bit of credit to San Jose. The Kings, for whatever reason, are like the Rangers. They don't like to do things the easy way. I'm going to take the Kings in 7, but I think that the Kings are... I think the Kings are the better team here. I do think San Jose's outplayed a lot of people's expectations. Again, given the age of the team, Kings have the pedigree. They've done this before. They can do it again.
I might have to bet you a pizza on that. I think you're nuts. But hey, everybody has their own opinion, and that's what we go as. But keep an eye out. Next week, we're going to be back. We're going to give second round updates. Whether Brian comes here or not, whether we go on location, we'll have it all for you. Because remember, at the Sports Box, the only opinion that matters is right here. Thank Brian for coming out. Brian, appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Our new NHL analyst of the Sports Box, Brian. And have a go, folks. Make sure you subscribe. Keep an eye out for new stuff. See ya.
Don't forget to subscribe.